I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Last night, something paid a visit to the town of Snowfield, Colorado.
Hundreds of thousands missing. No bodies, no graves, no witnesses.
We've always worried that the terror would come from above. What if it came from below?
It's nothing.
It's here! It's everywhere, all around us!
What are we dealing with here? Biological, chemical, or other?
I'm leaning toward other.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is a paid request from Milo. Thank you so much for that. And it's a request for the 1998 film Phantoms. And first off, if anyone's ever interested in requesting pretty much any type of video, review, movie, topic video, request of a reaction, whatever, you can request either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. If not, no worries, but if so, thank you so much. Now, Phantoms I've always liked. I wouldn't call it a gem, but I've never had that much of an issue that a lot of people did. I never read the story by Dean Koontz, to be fair. I know really became, I don't know if I want to say popular, but of course in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Ben Affleck was in that. And Jason Mewes says, Affleck, you the bomb in Phantoms, yo. That's really, anyone who hears that line, they're like, what the fuck is Phantoms? And they go back and they find this. And it's probably one of the lines that nowadays Ben Affleck is, whenever they see him, they probably say that line to him. Probably haunted by it. But, you know, I would actually one day like to have Ben Affleck talk about this film. He'd probably say it was shitty or whatever, but, you know, it's one of those films that I thought what it was supposed to be was an enjoyable, I would say time waster, but I like it more than a time waster. I thought that the acting I was fine with. I like Ben Affleck. People say, yeah, he seemed a bit too young to play the sheriff character, but at the same time, I'm a fan of Ben Affleck. I liked him in the movie. I thought, in my opinion, he had a certain charm and likability to him. And this is one of the early times where he got to play a bit more of a leading man role, because before that, at least in this type of movie, and you think about Ben Affleck, I don't think he's done any other horror film. least I can think of. So it was cool to see him in this sci-fi horror movie. I did kick out of that. Actors I enjoy go into that realm, into that genre. So I like Ben Affleck as the sheriff. The two sisters played by Joanna Going and Rose McGowan, they were fine. I had no issues with them. Pretty much Joanna Going, she's a doctor, takes her and her sister into this town she works at in Snowfield, Colorado. When they arrive, there's no one there. I was like, what the fuck? Not finding any bodies, they're not hearing any noises, no insects, no dogs, barking, nothing. They find a handful of bodies. Then they find the sheriff, played by Ben Affleck, and two of his deputies. One of them is Liev Schreiber, who's in some of the Scream films, Sphere, which I reviewed, a bunch of other films. And long story short, there's this evil under the ground, which a little bit like The Thing. There were moments in this movie that made me reminded of The Thing. Certain creature moments. The phantoms thing, where it's like if someone was possessed or someone was infected by the thing, which are kind of these, but in this case it's these sort of detachments from this bigger threat that is thrown out there to do certain little duties, so to speak. And the movie's kind of in two parts, where the first half of the film is more of a slower build-up, dealing a bit more with dread and atmosphere. And I kind of like that. Joe Chappelle directed it, and he did Halloween 6, which I'm not a fan of. If you want to know why, feel free to watch my review of it. I reviewed all the Halloween films, including 6. I'm not a fan of it. I'm sorry. But I don't think he did that bad of a job. I thought he had some really good shots in this movie. For example, wide shots where they showcase the entire town empty, I thought looked really cool. I thought the first half of the film really made you think that this town was completely dead. Establishing shots of just showing how desolate this town is. There's this shot where Peter O'Toole, who comes into it, he's trying to get this thing out, show your full self. And you see his face, and it cuts to like a shitload of these phantoms. And I thought it was really nice crane shots. It really gave you the overlay of just how many of these fucking phantoms there are. So that's what I mean. I thought there were certain decent shots. The only complaint I have with the direction is certain bits of action a little bit too fast cutty for me. Like there's a scene with, as weird as this sounds, a giant moth that eats one character's face up. I liked it because of the idea behind it, because it's not every day you have a giant moth thing. For some reason that reminded me of Silent Hill. Maybe because I remember battling some moths in Silent Hill that would try to do that to your face. But the way it's cut, so I don't know if that's the direction or the editing or both. That stuff could have been worked out a bit. That's one of my complaints on the film. But yeah, the first half of the movie, it is trying to establish this dread and atmosphere, which I thought was effective. And they go into these certain houses, and it's investigating the houses, and like, well, wait a minute. How could someone get out of this locked room that has no windows, and it was locked from the inside, but there's a message on the window, on the mirror, in lipstick. Wait, how come bodies are here, then they're gone? And yeah, I thought the director did a nice job establishing the tone of that. And Liev Schreiber, he's fun, he's camping it up. His performance is pretty campy, but in a fun way. Because he plays a very creepy type of deputy. He's laughing in times that he shouldn't be laughing. And you're like, part of me is like, how the fuck did this guy ever become a deputy? How the fuck did he get through the psych evaluation? But Liev Schreiber's pretty fun. And then when he becomes evil, again, sort of that campy fun follows through on that. And the moment where half his body is like a creature thing, that's one of those scenes that remind me a little bit of The Thing with its creature work, which to me is not a bad thing. And there are some CG effects that don't hold up, but there's some pretty decent practical effects as well. I'm guessing that's why it was fast cutty, because it's a giant moth. We can't make that scary, but so they cut it real quick. But I mean, I didn't mind the scene, and there's a moment where one character gets hit and it's like a slow-mo flying bat that looked cool. And on the flip side of what I said, there are certain moments of action that look cool. And even the first part of that attack, where, spoiler alert, is Liev Schreiber's character gets grabbed and then he flies back, and that's done a little bit of slow motion, like a real person on a rig. That was well done. And it's not a gory film, but there's a couple fun little gags, like when they're investigating the town and they find two hands that are still holding a rolling pin, and it's just the hands, or some heads that drop out from like a pizza oven. It's like so again, there's a couple, it's not a gory film, but there's a couple little fun moments of that nature. And I kind of like the idea of the military coming in, because sometimes with these movies it's like, well, the military, it's a last resort, or they don't arrive in time, or they arrive at the very end of the movie, or they can't contact anybody, but then they come in and that don't matter. And then there's scenes where they get fucked up, which I thought was rather effective. And speaking of The Thing, there's actually a tentacle that comes out of a dog that's like John Carpenter's The Thing. So that had to have been an influence in this. It had to have been. I mean, maybe it was in the book, maybe it wasn't, but the way it's filmed, it has to be some type of thing with John Carpenter's The Thing. There has to. At least a little bit. But there are some effective shots. Like one person who's a phantom and talks, but when he falls, as soon as he hits the ground, it's a pool of black oil substance that just, I don't know, just like one of those moments. And when the military arrives, they bring Peter O'Toole, because he's an expert. He's a professor who had written this thing about the ancient enemy. And Peter O'Toole is going over the top, but I quite enjoy it. Yeah, Peter O'Toole, again, campy, yeah. When he's like, chaos in the flesh. I'm like, okay, man, it's Peter O'Toole, rocket, man. If you don't, you can act boring, act good, or act big. Act big, I prefer a lot more than fucking boring. So go for it, man. So you get fun dialogue like Ben Affleck going, enough, it's not a god, it's not a devil, just a fucking animal. Any living thing can be killed. And then Peter O'Toole's like, but this thing wiped out the dinosaurs, which were pretty tough fucking customers. The only time the movie slowed down for me is, did more into spoilers, starting now, spoilers. Because overall I can say I liked the film, because I liked the second half, which had a little creature effect moments, and over-the-top fun performance by Peter O'Toole. I like the cast. I like Ben Affleck. I don't mind Rose McGowan and others. I thought the movie was fast enough pace. It's only 90 minutes or so. Again, certain moments of the plot, you go, I don't know if they thought this through. Like, one of the phantoms is a dog, but it's like the most beautiful looking dog. I guess that's the point. But it's like, there's a moment of Ben Affleck and there's the dog, and it's supposed to be the suspenseful scene where he's got hit by this dog. There's a part where the dog like steps in front of him. I'm like, I don't mind the one shot where it's a effect where the dog's like, but still, it's like a golden retriever. It's a dog. It's still a cute dog. It's like, maybe if it was a dog like Cujo, or maybe it was a dog like a Rottweiler, or like maybe a more scary looking dog. But maybe that's the point, is that it's a cute dog and appearances are deceiving. Maybe in its first instance where you see that dog, it works out for that. But a scene like when Ben Affleck's gotta be scared of this dog, it's like it just seemed a little bit silly. And like some of the CG effects, this is 1998, mainly in, there's a moment where Ben Affleck's in a sewer and like a tentacle grabs them, like throws them. Like that effect was a bit wonky. Like moments like that, it's like, eh. But overall, I do like it. And then the spoilers, one of the other things I like is the idea that this figure is an animal, but has an ego and thinks it's God or Satan. Which makes me think a little bit of Split Second. Where Dirk is like, only he thinks he is Satan. He is Satan. Oh yeah? Well, Satan is in deep shit. So I like the fact that you have a creature that thinks, I can't be harmed. Spread my word, spread my gospel. And this ego-driven, amoeba, what the fuck do you want to call it? Interesting idea. Not something I see every day. Apparently this isn't an alien, but something that's been lasted a long time ago. Fuck, I'd rather watch this than the new It movies. You don't talk about evil from long ago that has an ego. The only other thing I don't like the sequel bait ending. That wasn't needed. Wasn't needed. Not every time does a movie like this need a fucking little snippet at the end in case for next time. And if it wasn't for a sequel bait, then they think, oh, it's going to be another scare, or another oh shit moment, or another, the audience will be talking about this. It's like, no. Usually when movies do that, they're for movies that don't get much of an audience. Not many audiences really like that kind of shit. Do you know many audiences that love that sequel bait ending shit? It wasn't meant for sequel bait ending, but that's what the audience thinks. But they do that all the time. But how many times does an audience actually like that stuff? Aside from Friday the 13th and Carrie, which that I can understand that, no, it wasn't sequel bait, it was more for shock. That I can understand more than, like, Wrong Turn did it, this movie did it, countless other fucking films did that. The Blob from 1988 did that. And they're not always shock moments, but just like, oh shit, one of those things. It's not needed. Most of the time it's not fucking needed. It wasn't needed in this film, so I didn't care for that. Some of the other stuff I already mentioned. But overall, I don't mind the concept. I like the slow build, mood, feel, atmosphere of the desolation of this town at the beginning, and only a few people. So it made it like an eerie environment. I like the performances. Either they were campy and fun, or they were more than serviceable. I thought there was decent moments of direction. Like when these scientists in these hazmat suits, when they get taken over, you just see a void of their mask. You don't see their face. It'll show like just a void, and they're just staring there and looking at Peter O'Toole after they get bit attacked. Like, that was a nice bit of direction. You know, there's other moments of that nature. There's some decent practical effects. There's a moment where there's a broken piece of their mask, and it's a head that they've made, so this huge chunk of glass gets pulled out of their mouth. Pretty interesting special practical effect. And yes, Affleck is the bomb in Phantoms, so I do like this film. I've always liked this film. I don't think it's that bad. Again, a few edits, snip off the last last 2 minutes, snip that off, fix a couple of little wonky CG effects. Maybe once in a while, like the moth attack, don't cut it as much as you did. I do like this film. I don't think this film's that bad. I think it's a little bit underrated. It's a fun movie for most of it. It's an entertaining film. But that's just my opinion. So thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
There they are! Affleck, you don't bomb in Phantom, Joe!